Hello my dear friends and welcome to my channel. My name is Barbara and today we're going to be looking at Mercury in the 5th house. So this video is for you if you do have this placement. If you're a cross watcher, welcome as well. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be looking at what Mercury means, then we're going to be looking at what the 5th house means, and then we're going to put it all together. Keep in mind, this is going to be for the Western tropical system. So Mercury in your natal chart deals with your intellect, it deals with your communication, how you communicate what you are thinking. And what I'm going to say to you guys as well is the area that you have your Mercury in, so the 5th house, the house deals with the area of life. It's going to be the area of life that you guys are looking for that constant mental stimulation. Keep in mind, Mercury is ruled by Gemini. Gemini wants to always be mentally stimulated. If it's boring, they move on to the next thing. So same thing when you have it in a particular house. The house in your natal chart is always going to be the area of life. The sign is going to give you the attributes and the personality traits, but keep in mind the house is the area of life. So for you guys, you have it in the 5th house. So the 5th house deals with all things to do with children, your inner child. It can be your creativity. It can be how you express your creativity. It can also be your love and your relationships. So when you guys have Mercury in the 5th house, the area that you're constantly looking for stimulation in could be in your love and your relationships. When you have this particular placement, you guys could really live for the thrill in terms of constantly having maybe witty banter with people, bouncing off of each other, making people laugh. And it's kind of like when you have this placement in a relationship, maybe if it becomes too much of a routine, you guys might get bored and move on to the next thing. It's affecting this area of life for you guys. It's going to be the area of love and relationships. So if you guys are maybe looking for longer committed relationships, you guys might have to keep it fun and exciting and constantly be doing new things and just constantly having that mental stimulation, even in terms of your partner and your dynamic with your partner is going to have to be an intellectual connection. Keep in mind, Mercury is all about the intellectual stimulation. So for you guys, the area is going to be love and relationships. Now, another area of life for you guys that this is going to be affecting is going to be your creativity. So you guys are probably going to be highly intellectual when it comes to creative matters. You guys are probably going to be interested in things like theater and film and expressing. That's the whole thing here. You guys are here to express your creativity in one way, shape, or form. Now, how this might manifest is going to be different for different people, but basically you guys are constantly taking those creative ideas and expressing them. You guys might be interested in writing. You guys might be interested in film. You guys might be interested in acting. You guys are going to be probably really, really good at acting. Now, it depends on the rest of your natal chart. There's a lot of things to look for, especially in terms of career, but this could be an area of interest for you. Even if you guys are working in like a corporate environment, maybe your manager assigns you guys a task to create something creative for the group. I don't know, maybe you guys have to do some sort of holiday party or whatever it is, right? And you guys with the Mercury in the 5th house, you're going to be able to think of like, okay, the baggies are going to be like this and people are going to get like this prize and we're going to play these games and these types of things. Very, very good task for the Mercury in the 5th house person. So you can see how this can manifest in different careers. It doesn't necessarily just have to be writing or doesn't necessarily just have to be acting. But this is really what it is. You guys are always going to be using your creative mind. You guys are going to be very good at writing maybe like short stories or even creating like cute little cards maybe for your partners and your loved ones. Some of you could even be interested in things like creating cartoons or like children's books, right? Because it does deal with children as well. Now, when you have Mercury in the 5th house, you guys could be very good at communicating with children. Or if you have children of your own, you guys could be very good at communicating with them because it's like the 5th house is all about the lightheartedness. It's all about the inner child. So you guys are always looking to be in tune with that inner child. The inner child does deal with creativity. So you guys could be also very, very good teachers. I find that this energy, the 5th house, which is ruled by Leo and the sun, can go on a range. Some of them could be very good teachers, elementary school teachers, actors, basically anything that puts you above other people. And because Mercury's here, Mercury's all about communicating your ideas, communicating these thoughts that you guys have. But again, it has to be lighthearted. You guys are probably going to be very, very funny. You guys are going to be very interested in comedy, especially that 5th house energy is very, very comedic. Because the 5th house is ruled by the sun, you guys are always going to want to keep things light around you for everybody else. Maybe if things get too serious, you guys are going to crack a joke in that moment. Like, this is really what it is. You're taking that sun energy, which is the 5th house, and you're putting it in the area of Mercury, which deals with your intellect and your communication. So it's all about, again, you guys being seen, you guys being funny, you guys breaking, certain like negative energies that are taking place. Maybe if you guys are in the office, you guys crack a joke, or whatever it is. You know, it can manifest in a lot of different ways in your life, and obviously depends on the rest of your natal chart. But this is the area of life that you guys are constantly going to be seeking this sort of intellectual stimulation. You guys are going to want to have intellectual conversations with people in terms of, again, creativity. So people that you can sit down with and be like, okay, I have this idea, let's bounce off of this. Improv could be something very good for you guys, where it's like you guys are bouncing off of the energy of another person. And on top of that, you guys are in front of people, right? You're on that stage, these types of things. So it can really, really go on a scale. That fifth house Leo energy, because it's creative, you guys can take the creative energy, the intellect, and basically manifest it into whatever you guys want, is really what that is. It can be things like YouTube videos. It can even be in the area of politics as well. Sometimes I find Leo placements to be in there as well. And even entrepreneurship as well, because again, you get to be the leader, you get to be number one, you get to be ahead of everyone. You're creating your reality, you're creating all these sorts of things, and you're using your mind. That's the thing when you have Mercury in the fifth house. Now, the sign that you have in there is going to make things maybe a little bit different in terms of how you're expressing this creativity. Let's say you have Capricorn in there. You're going to be very grounded. You're going to be very hardworking. You're going to be focused on your goal to express these ideas, especially if you have any of the earth signs in there. It can manifest very differently. It could be things, again, like I mentioned, you're working in corporate and you're using your creative mind. If you have the water sign in there, let's say you have Mercury maybe in Cancer in the fifth house, the water sign in there is going to basically use like the emotional world to express it creatively outwardly. So it's going to manifest differently for different people depending on what particular sign you have in there. But this is the area of life that you guys are constantly going to be needing stimulation and constantly going to be needing that change. And even in relationships and maybe even in your love life, you guys might find yourselves bouncing from person to person, because again, ultimately you're needing that creative connection and intellectual connection, something where you guys can create something together, something where you guys can constantly have fun, something where you guys can go on adventures together. It's going to have to be something that's very, very stimulating, but in an intellectual way. So that's the thing when you do have this placement in terms of how you guys communicate. Probably going to be very approachable, very funny, like I mentioned, even without trying. Probably when you have Mercury in the fifth house, it's like you guys just say something and it makes people laugh. You guys are going to be very good at holding a crowd, holding their attention, because again, it's the sun, you know? So it's like no matter what you're saying, people are kind of like hanging on to every word. What is that person saying? What are they going to say next? You guys are probably going to be very, very expressive in your speech, very theatrical when you have Mercury in the fifth house, like I mentioned, even with the hands. You guys are going to probably move your hands around a lot, just express a lot, you know, or like those people who just like are very expressive in their speech will like sing sometimes in the middle of their sentence. Like that's very much Mercury in the fifth house. It's like you're able to catch people's attention, right? Because people are like, okay, what's that person going to say next? How are they going to say it? Okay, what movement are they going to do, right? Because when you're moving around, you're holding people's attention, because it's like, okay, there's so much going on, you know? This is the thing, even with like social media these days, that's what keeps people's attention these days, you know? It's like short things, you know, things that are abrupt, things that are like on to the next thing. So you guys are going to be good at this. And that's the thing in terms of your speech, is going to be you guys slip in something unexpected. You guys make people laugh, where it's like, you know, it's a very serious environment. Then you guys just like say something to break the ice and these types of things. So very, very fun placement to have. Very, very intelligent, highly intellectual when you have Mercury in the fifth house. It's in terms of that creative mind. So you guys are really going to have to find an outlet for this creativity. You guys definitely don't want it to go to waste when you do have Mercury in the fifth house. Keeping in mind, because you guys are very connected with that inner child, you guys are going to be very good at communicating with children. Like I mentioned, things like children's books, things like making posters, or like working with children in one way, shape, or form, being a teacher, being an instructor, being a daycare facilitator. Really depends. It really is on a range. It depends on the rest of your natal chart. But that's the thing. It's a gift really when you have this placement, because it's like it's very versatile. You guys are able to communicate with everyone. You guys don't go super hardcore and deep. Let's say like the water houses where like they need a deep conversation. You guys can talk about everything. That's really the thing when you have Mercury in the fifth house. So I'm going to wrap up this video here. I hope you guys did enjoy my video on Mercury in the fifth house. If you did, please do like, share, and subscribe. And I hope you all have a beautiful rest of the day.